It was 15 years ago when Clara and I tied the knot. We had dated exclusively for 3 years, starting from our first date when she was a sophomore in college. My name is Eddie Harris, and I was a junior at the time. We met at a party and instantly clicked, becoming inseparable until I graduated 2 years later. During her senior year, we spent some time apart, as we had planned to marry right after her graduation. About 6 months into our marriage, we attended a barbecue with a few couples around our age. The air was filled with the mouth-watering scent of sizzling steaks, and drinks flowed freely. As the night wore on, the crowd thinned out, leaving just us and 3 other couples gathered around a fire pit, chatting and having a good time. Then the topic of celebrity hall pass came up. What in the world is a celebrity hall pass? I asked, intrigued. Megan, a petite blonde sitting next to me, chimed in. A celebrity hall pass is just what it sounds like. It's a game we play where you name a celebrity you'd want to have a pass from your marriage vows, a person you could be intimate with. So it's just a game? I inquired. Yes and no, she replied, patting her husband Kyle's leg. It's a game, but Kyle and I have agreed to give each other one hall pass. It doesn't have to be a celebrity. I was taken aback. Wait, you mean you both have a standing agreement to be intimate with someone else whenever you want? Kyle looked me straight in the eye and laughed. That's right, buddy. It's a bit more complicated than that, but that's the gist. The other couples here have the same deal. Have you all used your hall passes? I asked. Laura, one of the other wives, looked down and Kyle teased. You don't need to spill the beans, Laura. Yes, I used mine, she admitted. I was at a conference and ended up working with this cute guy whose wife had recently died in an accident. I called Carl and told him I was going to use my hall pass to help the guy. Clara had been quiet but shifted closer to me, holding my hand. Carl, are you okay with Laura being intimate with someone else? Oh, yeah, I'm fine with it, he replied. She came back to me, and I'll get to use mine someday. They continued their game, naming their celebrity hall pass choices. Clara nudged me to share mine after revealing hers. 15 years later, I can't recall who we each picked, but I vividly remember the passionate night we had when we got home. Clara even confessed that while we were making love, she was picturing her fantasy lover. The next morning, I made it clear that I would never agree to a hall pass. Clara accepted that it was just a game, and the events of that night gradually faded from my memory. We moved on with our lives, quickly starting a family and having a boy and a girl in quick succession. For a few years, we kept in touch with Megan and Kyle, but lost track of them after their divorce. A couple of years later, I bumped into Kyle at a bar. I had just stopped in after work and saw him sitting alone. We shared a drink, and he told me about his divorce from Megan. To my surprise, he mentioned that the other 2 couples from that barbecue had also split. The reason behind each divorce was the hall pass, Kyle explained. They thought it would bring excitement without issues, but they couldn't have been more mistaken. Once they used their passes, it led to comparisons and suspicions, which turned into contempt and eventually divorce. Kyle's story confirmed my initial thoughts about the hall pass. While it might be fun as a fantasy, it doesn't work in real life. I intended to tell Clara about my encounter with Kyle, but with our busy schedules, it never came up. One Thursday night, Clara was away at a conference in Los Angeles. Around midnight, my phone rang. Clara's voice came through, filled with noise from what sounded like a club. You won't believe it. I just met Josh from my favorite soap. He likes me, and I'm going to use my hall pass. What did you say? Are you serious? I asked, my heart racing. Yeah, honey, I knew you'd understand. See you Saturday. Wait, what? Can you hear me? But the call ended before I could say more. I quickly tried to call her back, but it went straight to voicemail. I left several messages, urging her not to do anything reckless and warning her there would be consequences if she broke our vows. Friday was unbearable. After dropping the kids off at my parents' house, I went to see my friend Jack, whose wife Jenny was also at the conference with Clara. Hey Jack, I really need your help, I said. I can't reach Clara. Can you check in with Jenny to see if she knows anything? Sure, Eddie. I'll call her, he replied. But don't tell her you're here. As Jack dialed, I turned on the voice recorder on my phone. When he brought up Clara, Jenny's response worried me. The last I saw of her was last night. We were all drinking when that hot soap star approached our table. Clara danced with him and mentioned a hall pass agreement. Next thing I knew, she was with him, walking out of the club. Jack hung up, looking concerned. I'm sorry, brother. Do you guys really have a hall pass agreement? No way, I said, shaking my head. We played that game years ago, but I made it clear that I'd never agree to something like that. As I drove home, I stopped by my parents' place and asked my mom to keep the kids for the weekend. Back at home, I set up a video camera in the living room, ready to confront Clara. I wanted to capture everything she said when she got home. When the garage door opened at 4 o'clock, I pressed record on the camera and waited, my heart pounding. I was on the couch when Clara came in from the kitchen, full of energy, her bag swinging at her side. What a wild trip, she exclaimed. I had tried reaching her all day, but my phone had shattered when I dropped it. Taking a deep breath, I asked her about her call from late Thursday. Last time we talked, you were saying something about meeting a soap star and using your hall pass. Oh yeah, Josh Marrow, the star from my favorite soap, showed up at the club. We danced and talked about the hall pass thing. And can you believe he actually wanted me to use it on him? He's had so many gorgeous actresses around him, but he wanted me. She went on, her excitement bubbling over. We went back to his place, but I don't think you want all the details. No, I do. Tell me about how he was with you. Oh, he was definitely experienced. He even took one of those pills, and let me tell you, all those stories you hear about celebrities, they're true. She finally noticed the look on my face. Eddie, are you okay? No, I'm not. My wife is standing here, gushing about cheating on me. Cheating? Eddie, it was a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I thought you'd be happy I got to live out my fantasy. Fantasy? Clara, we played with the idea as a game, but I made it clear that it didn't extend into reality. You think I should be thrilled that you broke our wedding vows? Clara's face showed a hint of concern, but I could see she didn't fully get it. It was an experience I'll never forget, she said defensively. I won't forget either, especially that you forgot about our family in the process. I took her wedding ring off her finger. Did you wear this while you were with him? She hesitated, then said, yes. I thought about taking it off, but he told me to keep it on. Of course he did. He probably thought it was hilarious. She looked annoyed now. It was 2 nights, Eddie. You're making too big a deal out of this. Did he use protection? What? I don't know why you're asking. No, he didn't. Then you risked bringing something back from him. Who knows what? Eddie, I'm fine, and I thought you'd be happy for me. It was supposed to be fun. I turned away, unable to hear more. Clara kept insisting I should be happy for her, but I walked upstairs and locked myself in the guest bedroom. She pounded on the door for over an hour, but I stayed silent. The next morning, I left early and went to my parents' house. My dad was up, and over coffee, I told him everything. He listened, then shook his head. Son, this wouldn't have flown back in my day. If your mother had done something like that, well, it would have ended differently. I can't get over it, Dad. And her mom made us sign that prenup before the wedding. I guess Clara's mom caught her dad cheating, but that doesn't make this any easier. My dad nodded. Seems like you're getting the short end here. So, what's your plan? Honestly, I'm just going to let her sit with it for a while. Around 10 a.m., my phone started buzzing with calls and texts from Clara, but I ignored them. Finally, Julie, our daughter, wandered into the kitchen, half awake. Dad, Mom's blowing up my phone, wanting to know where you are and what's going on. What did she tell you? I asked. She didn't say much, just that you two had a big argument. Did you cheat on her, or did she cheat on you? Dad raised his eyebrows. Julie was nothing if not perceptive. Did Mom cheat on you? She asked, more directly. I didn't answer her. That's something you might want to ask your mother. Determined, Julie pulled out her phone and put it on speaker. Mom, Dad's here. Did you cheat on him? What? Clara's voice crackled with panic. Julie, what are you talking about? Your dad's lying if he said that. Actually, he didn't say anything, Julie replied, but I can read it on his face. Okay, Mom, you sound guilty, I replied, hearing a hesitation before Julie abruptly hung up. Dad, I can't believe she did that to you, Julie said. a serious look in her eyes. Are you going to divorce her? You've always told me about the importance of honesty. I wouldn't blame you if she cheated on you. With that, she turned and walked upstairs, her words echoing. She's pretty mature for her age, Dad said with a sad smile. She'll handle this okay. I'm not so sure I will, I murmured. Soon, there was a loud knock at the front door, and I overheard Dad at the entry. Clara, it's not a good time, he said. I don't know what you've heard, but I've done nothing wrong. Clara argued, her tone defensive. She stormed off soon after, visibly angry. Be careful, son, Dad warned. I've seen that look before. She's not going down without a fight. When I arrived home that night, Clara acted as if nothing had happened. I decided to confront her in the morning, hoping for a calm discussion. Did the kids get off okay? She asked, pouring her coffee. Yes, I replied, deciding to address the issue directly. Why did you cheat? She glared, anger simmering beneath her composed expression. You have no proof of any wrongdoing. You're making baseless accusations, she said, voice cold. There it is, I muttered. Your denial. You can say what you like, but we can still go back to how things were. That's up to you, she offered, surprising me. I don't think I can just forget, I replied. With a resigned look, Clara finally left, and as she did, I decided to gather proof. It was time to visit the lawyer. Returning home, I waited for her to leave for work and began searching. After a long search, I found what I needed. A picture of Clara and the actor, Joshua, with a personal note on the back. I stored the evidence and contacted my lawyer, Vicky Sampson, who listened intently. I have a plan, she said, explaining each step with precision. First, access her iCloud for additional photos if there are any. This will help corroborate your findings. Returning home, I carefully accessed her computer and found what Vicky had suspected. Pictures of Clara with Joshua at a club. I downloaded everything to a flash drive and sent it to Vicky. Her instructions were clear. Keep the findings quiet until we served her. When Friday arrived, Clara stormed home, furious after being served at work. How could you humiliate me? She shouted. You want a divorce? You'll pay for this. You think you can prove anything? Watch me take everything you have. I sat there, refusing to argue. She stomped through the house, her anger filling the room. Are you moving out? She asked, expecting compliance. No, I said firmly. I'm staying. Fine, she sneered, slamming the door as she left. The next few weeks were tense. Clara tried to sway the kids, and they soon began questioning my story. At the deposition, her lawyer was overconfident. Vicky, however, was poised, knowing the evidence we had would turn the tables when the time was right. Clara took the stand, firmly asserting her innocence and claiming opposition to infidelity. She emphatically rejected the idea of a hall pass. To counter her claims, her lawyer called Jenny to testify that the alleged encounter with the soap star never happened. I glanced at Clara's husband, Jack, who appeared uneasy, avoiding eye contact. As my lawyer questioned Jenny about her call to Jack, informing him Clara had left with the soap star, I noticed her growing anxiety. Despite her nervousness, she stuck to her story, insisting nothing occurred. When she sat down, both Clara and her lawyer looked smug, declaring they had no further evidence. Suddenly, Clara's lawyer rose to argue for sanctions against us for allegedly false claims. The judge, seeming ready to reprimand my lawyer for not proving our allegations, was interrupted by Mrs. Sampson, who stood up with a smile. Excuse me, Your Honor, we have rebuttal evidence. Clara's lawyer objected, insisting they hadn't been informed of this evidence. The judge, undeterred, instructed Mrs. Sampson to proceed. She called her investigator to the stand, and the judge noted we conceded Clara did not have an intimate relationship with Josh Merrow. My mind raced at this unexpected twist, but Mrs. Sampson shot me a look, urging silence. The investigator testified that Josh was in Europe during the week of Clara's conference, sending Clara's lawyer into a frenzy. With this admission that Mrs. Harris didn't commit adultery, we demand an end to this farce and sanctions on Mr. Becker. Mrs. Sampson, still grinning, clarified, We're not saying she didn't commit adultery. We're just stating it wasn't with Josh Merrow. Jenny was recalled to the stand, and my lawyer asked her again if she was with Clara at the conference and if they had met someone they thought was Josh Merrow. Once more, she denied it. When pressed about her call to Jack, Jenny insisted she never made it, even under oath. I turned to Jack, who mouthed, "I'm sorry," to which I replied, "No." My lawyer then played a recording of Jenny's call. Clara's lawyer objected, claiming my client was an invited guest and had no right to listen in. The judge dismissed the objection and asked Jenny if that was her voice. With no choice left, she admitted it was. A wave of vindication washed over me. I had evidence proving my truth. Next, Clara was recalled to the stand, where she again denied any intimacy after returning from her trip. However, the mood shifted dramatically when a graphic video of her intimate descriptions with Josh Merrow was played. Clara gasped, tears streaming down her face as selfies and signed publicity pictures were introduced into evidence. As Clara left the witness stand, the judge, visibly confused, spoke up. "You said Mrs. Harris did not have intimacy with Josh Merrow, yet you've presented evidence indicating otherwise." Mrs. Sampson brought her investigator back to clarify, "Our evidence proves Mrs. Harris committed adultery, just not with whom she originally thought." The investigator presented surveillance photos from a club, revealing Clara with a different man. Not Josh Merrow, but a lookalike known for pursuing married women and diagnosed with multiple STDs. The shock on Clara's face was priceless as I absorbed this turn of events. After a brief recess, the judge returned with a lengthy speech on honesty and faithfulness. He ruled that Clara had committed adultery, upholding the prenup in my favor. He emphasized that even without the prenup, I would have been awarded custody of the kids, deeming Clara an unfit mother due to her deceptive behavior. With tears in her eyes, Clara turned to leave the courtroom when the judge called her and Jenny back to the bench. "You both raised your right hand and swore to tell the truth in my courtroom. That oath is sacred. If this had been a criminal case, you would both be facing jail time." Finding them guilty of perjury, the judge held both women in contempt of court, imposing the maximum penalty of $5,000 on each. Clara's day continued to worsen as she exited the courthouse into the waiting cameras of a local news team. Unbeknownst to her, my lawyer had tipped them off. "Mrs. Harris, do you have a comment on throwing away your family for a one-night stand with a fake TV star?" a reporter asked, prompting Clara to scream and lunge at the reporter. The scene devolved into chaos as Clara pulled the reporter to the ground by her hair. A deputy quickly deployed a taser, capturing the incident on video. That night, Clara was splashed across national news. Sadly for her, she didn't witness her moment of infamy. She was taken to county jail for 6 months. During that time, I adjusted to life as a single parent, raising our 2 kids. I had no plans to reunite with Clara, despite her attempts. My mother urged me to give her another chance, but my focus was on my children's well-being. After 3 months of persistent calls and texts from Clara, I reluctantly agreed to meet her at her mother's home. I listened as Clara recounted how much she loved and missed me, expressing her desire to be part of our family again. Due to her arrest, her visits with the kids were limited and supervised. Clara tearfully apologized for lying about her hookup and expressed embarrassment over being conned by a fake. She concluded by pleading for a second chance, promising to be the best wife ever. I took a deep breath and said, "Clara, I believe you mean every word. You've apologized for lying and expressed your love for our family, but you haven't expressed remorse for breaking our wedding vows. You're not sorry for cheating on me. You're just upset it didn't turn out as you hoped." The answer is no. No, I will not take you back. Please stop contacting me. If you don't, I will renew the restraining order I received when you were arrested. Clara stood up, crying, "I'm sorry. Is that what you wanted to hear?" I replied, "We're done. Go live your life. It won't be with me." I turned and walked out, leaving Clara screaming, restrained by her mother. And so, we've reached the end of this chapter. Did it unfold as you expected? Or were there twists you didn't foresee? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below. If this story captivated you, please hit that like button. If you're new here or haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.